All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we would like to give all praise and glory to
YAHAWAH,
BAHASHAM,
YAHAWASHI,
BAHASHAM,
YAHAWASHI.
Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us his truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakak with Dr. Church Holy Spirit. We're the brothers of the Great Millstone Chicago camp. I'm the brother I will love me join with
the brother outside,
Brother YAHAWAH.
and we'll come back at you, brothers and sisters, at the household of faith of the hopeful right select with another lesson. And Lord, when we hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. We're going to simply entitle this lesson, when all hell breaks loose, it will be the worst for you women. Because ultimately, when you look into any time through history, man, when it was always a major event, when society, was beginning to fail, who always suffer, women and children, man. And the same thing will apply. Well, ultimately, we enter into the worst time in human history, which is Jacob's trouble, man. You women are going to suffer the most, especially you women that have kids upon kids upon kids.
Yep.
And it talks about that because if you read the book of Lamentation, it talks about how the women had signed their children. That's what a lot of you women are going to do, man. Because a lot of you women is not going to have that covering, from a man of the Lord, man. A lot of you women are not going to have husbands to protect you, man. So a lot of you women are going to be out here for ultimately the elements to take you, But
I got the Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32:9. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. It says, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women. For the vintage shall fail, and the gathering shall not come.
Yeah.
Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins.
Yeah, because we already know that a lot of these women get a lot of benefits from the government, man. Especially these women that are so-called self-made, right? OnlyFans, things of that nature, man. All that is going to fail, man. A lot of these women receive child support, government assistance.
And it's got them living in this fairy tale world where they think that they could be like a man.
Yep.
We just watched that video of the woman all in a man's face, hitting him, smacking him.
Yeah.
Until the dude eventually got mad and just put her down with one strike. Easy, put her down. So you careless women don't understand. You're going to be reminded that you really are a woman.
Hey, because we were just talking about in the last lesson, the collapse of society, right? Ultimately, this is what was ultimately keeping these women up. These government assistance, these different benefits that their daddy Esau Edom is giving them. And when these things begin to fail, what is these bitches realistically going to do, man?
Nothing.
Exactly.
All they can do is sell their body. But at that point, even that's going to be a commodity that's not really valuable.
Hey, a lot of these individuals just go take it, man.
Right.
Let's be real, A lot of these bitches go sell some box, but a lot of these people go take the box.
It's gonna be free.
Yeah. You can in Isaiah 32, I go back up to verse 2.
Come on. Sure. It's Isaiah 32:2. A man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land.
Right. So ultimately, a man of the Lord, not any man, but a man of the Lord, a hopeful elect man of the Lord, that's an Israelite, is ultimately going to be that covering for you women, man. But a lot of you women, it's not going to make it. Let's be realistic, because a lot of the women is going to consist of the 2/3. A lot of women is going to perish on this side, man, especially here in America, man. Because they're not going to have that covering. A lot of these women are ultimately utterly going to be wasted, man.
Right,
This is the time that we're coming into, man. We're going to, because I even said it, man. In that Lamentation, it talks about a lot of these women, have signed their children that's coming back. And a lot of these women is going to be eating, these nigger nuggets, but come on, this is the times that we're going coming into, man. It's going to be hard for you women.
I got that Micah 7:10.
Come on.
All right, this is Micah 7:10. And
start verse 9, Bible.
All right. Why is you freezing up on me? I'm stuck on 10. Oh, there you go. All right. Verse 9. This is Micah 7:9, and it reads, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness.
Right. The reason why we're in this predicament because we have sinned against YAHAWASHI. So we have to bear that indignation, man.
That's right.
That's why Sarai says, whatever is brought upon thee, to take cheerfully.
Yes, sir.
So we have to ultimately have to endure this because of our wickedness, man.
If you endure the tribulation, the Lord is working with you, brother. Yes, sir. Verse 10. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God, YAHAWASHI? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets.
Right. She that is my enemy shall see it, because they even applies to ultimately women that was with men of the Lord, and ultimately they broke bad on them. It says she that is my enemy shall see it, because what, they scoffed the truth. A lot of these women scoffed the truth. Job's wife. She basically told him to ultimately to give up his integrity, curse the Lord.
Curse the Lord and
and curse the Lord and die. That's what a lot of these women do. When time to get tough and things of that nature, that's what they want you to do.
Because they're the weaker vessel.
Yep.
They don't have that. They don't have that spiritual fortitude in them. No, that's a man's job.
Yep.
And I got a precept for that too, which is and they shall be as mighty. Zechariah 10:5. Zechariah 10:5 reads, and they shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight, because the Lord is with them, and the riders of the horses shall be confounded.
What verse was that?
That's Zechariah 10:5.
Zechariah 10:5.
Yeah.
Read it again.
Zechariah 10:5, and they shall be as mighty men which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight, because the Lord is with them, and the riders on horses shall be confounded. So, putting that with the mine enemy that she is to this, that, trying to be covered with the Lord's covering, but she's being beholden.
Right. That's talking about our people.
Okay.
Talking about, how ultimately, the Lord, is going to give us that strength.
Okay.
But ultimately, yeah, hey, the Lord is going to give us that spiritual power to tread upon these wicked bitches
there
too.
You go, brother.
There
you go.
So,
yeah.
But hey, while you grabbing that precept, how was it quoted? It said they shall be saved through childbearing.
Mm-hmm. God, if they can. For this is 1 Timothy chapter 2, and man, I think I might as well start at verse 9, because it says in the headline, women instructed. 1 Timothy 2:9. In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness in sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array, but that which becometh women professing godliness with good works.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection.
Yeah. It says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, meaning what? She have her mouth closed. Hey, she basically under the what's the word? Tutelage.
And that's like death to these women, man. To be in silence is like, they'd rather die than be in silence.
But this is what the NLT saying is 1 Timothy 2:11. It says 1 Timothy 2:11 in the NLT says, women shall learn quietly and submissively. So meaning be quiet. And a lot of women today can't do that, man. As the brother pointed out.
NIV, it says a woman should learn in quietness and full submission.
Which, hey, a wicked woman is not going to do, man.
So how are these women trying to teach the scriptures? That right there just contradicts the whole thing.
Yep.
And their daughters are following right behind them, brother. So
because even if we read Titus, hey, the woman's job is ultimately, to teach the younger women, how to ultimately to treat their husbands, man.
Mm-hmm.
These women today is not doing that,
Which that's an important thing too. It's not like, it's not like women aren't important or something like that, but there's different roles.
Yeah.
There's different roles to a man and woman. It says, verse 12, But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
Right, it says, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man. Brother, you can grab me 1 Corinthians 11:2. I believe it's 1 Corinthians 11:2.
It says 1 Timothy 2:13. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression.
Right, going back to the garden, man, how ultimately the serpent, deceived Eve, man, taking on those philosophies, man, following after the philosophies of the serpent, man, feminism, things of that nature, man. And ultimately what? We fail because what? The woman, ultimately listened to the philosophies of the serpent, man. It says the woman became the beginning of the sin.
Through her we all die.
Through her we all die, yeah.
And that's why the serpent went to the weaker vessel.
Yep.
Because Adam, it says Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Verse 15 says, notwithstanding she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety.
You got it, bro.
So that's a woman's job is to what? To serve the man, to serve her husband, and to bear children. That's what the woman was created for. Whether you women want to hear that or accept that or not, it doesn't matter, because that's what YAHAWASHI said. Yeah, they're going to be saved through childbearing, man. That's what that Isaiah 4:1, because it talks about what 7 women shall cleave to one man. Ultimately, what? It's going to be so bad out here that what? Ultimately, these women is going to flock to a man of the Lord, man. To ultimately to what? To receive that protection. What's that Isaiah 32:2, which we read earlier, man? That covering from the wind. We can actually grab that Isaiah 4:1 real quick.
And look where it's gotten her, going against the wishes of, as the brother said, going against the wishes of YAHAWASHI. Look where it's gotten you. The proof is there. But accountability for her is something that she'll never take responsibility for. Come on.
Definitely. Right. It says Isaiah 4:1. It says, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man.
Yes, sir. Saying,
we'll eat our own bread and we'll wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach.
Right, and that's exactly right. 7 means completion, man. It could be 50 women, it could be 90 women, it could be 100 women, man. Well, things is going to be so hectic that a lot of these women is going to cleave not to any man, and what a man of the Lord,
right? Because it says right here, a remnant prepared.
Yep. And it says, I'm gonna read that same verse in the NLT, brother. Isaiah 4:1 in the NLT. It says, in that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. And what is marry? It's the act of sex, man. That's what marriage is. It says, we will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name, so we won't be mocked as old maids. Right? It's going to be so hectic, man. Hey, a lot of men are going to perish. Because I'm going to read that second address, what's that, 16 to 33 in a second. How ultimately talks about the man, shall, basically, perish from war. Ultimately, this is what's going to happen, man. Those women are going to try to fight, for the hope rights of men of the Lord, man. One of the elect men of the Lord.
Just if I could hit this real quick, just to prove that sex is marriage, like the bro had just mentioned, Genesis 24:67. It reads, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife.
Yep.
And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So he took her into the tent, and they had sex, and that therefore she became his wife. It doesn't say that he bowed down onto her, gave her a ring, they signed a paper contract with the government. No, that's not even what marriage is going into. But just to prove that point.
Yep. And that's exactly right, man. Things is going to get so rough that these women are going to try to get with the men of the Lord, man. It says 7 women shall take hold of one man. 7 is a complete number, man. It could be, like I said, it could be 50 women, it could be 70 women, whatever the case may be, man. Second address 16:33.
Yep. This is second address, verse 16. Chapter 16, verse 33. And it reads, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers.
Hey, they should say they shall mourn having no helpers, because you have a lot of women today like, I don't need no man. I don't need no man to do this. I don't need no man to do that. But when all hell breaks loose, they gonna be running after a man, man. Because look, when the lights go out, hey, just imagine when a grid shut down and these lights don't turn back on, man. Who do you think these women is gonna hide behind, man?
Right, they cry and freak out if they see a spider.
Mm-hmm. Bugs and mice. Bugs and mice, brother.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. So,
verse 34.
2nd Ezra 16 and 34 reads, "In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine."
Now, Bible, shall we read the Isaiah 4:1 again in the NLT?
Actually, I don't have the NLT right here. I got the NIV.
It was a particular part I want to hand. I'm gonna grab it real quick. It's all good. Read that verse 34 again, Bible.
2nd Ezra 16:34. "In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine."
Right. It says what? It says war and famine, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, hey, a lot of men is going to die from war and famine, man. A lot of these women is going to be left out here for the, to be taken by the elements, man. You know, you got that NLT, Bible? Sure.
Isaiah 4:1 in the NLT. "In that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, 'Let us marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids.'"
It says, so men will be left. That's that brother read in that 2nd Ezra 16, that what some of the brides are going to, famine, perish from famine and war. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of these women is going to be left out here for the elements to take them, man. You know, it's going to be a whole lot of women out here, getting ravished to death.
Yeah.
You know, hey, cannibalized, well, you name it, man. You know, a lot of these women are going to be judged harshly. You know,
what's that? Where it says their wives ravished.
I got you.
Isaiah 13.
Yeah, it is Isaiah 13, but let me see. It's like
16.
Isaiah. You got
Isaiah 13 and 16. Isaiah 13 and 16 says, "Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished."
Right, because the most defenseless people is women and children, man.
Right.
And what? They're going to be the first ones to ultimately perish, man. You know, a lot of these women are going to be ravished. A lot of these children are going to be put to death, you know, because a lot of these kids ain't nothing but YNs anyways, raised by the nigga woman. So a lot of these children are going to perish, you know, and this is the times that we're approaching, man, you know.
1 Corinthians 11:3.
You can bring it out.
All right. This is 1 Corinthians 11.
And before you bring that out, this is, what the brother about to read is the true order, that how the Lord set things up, man. But everything has been put out of order. Mm-hmm. Hey, the woman over the man, so that's why ultimately what the Lord is going to put the woman back in her place, man. That's why this judgment is going to come down so harsh on the woman, man. Because a lot of these women don't know their place, But you got it, brother.
This is 1 Corinthians 11:3, and it reads, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is YAHAWASHI Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI." So, yeah, the women, are subject to our will through Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, and by fighting it and constantly going against order is why you got the state you in today. And as you said, it's getting worse, and you need the covering, but you'll learn eventually, because it's only getting worse for you because you are the weaker vessel, man.
And that's exactly right. And a lot of these women is not going to have that covering, man. Because
a
lot of these women don't understand what order is, man. And even if you try to teach them about order, man, they'll come back against you, man. That's why a lot of these, starting with the nigga woman, man, a lot of these women need to be destroyed, man. Because their minds are polluted. Their minds are destroyed. Hey, the so-called white man, has gave them the liberty, because the scripture talks about, the liberty to gad abroad. A lot of these women has the liberty to gad abroad, man. Freedom, to do what they want to do, man. Ultimately Esau Edom gave them that liberty to do that, man. Ultimately what? They have to pay, for being loose. You know, that's what these women has become. Every woman that you come across, man, they're nothing but whores, man. You know?
And you seen the science on, you know, your body counts, and as many men as you've had ravage you, it, you know, again, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't lie, and the science and, you know, the way YAHAWASHI set it up is what you're going against, and this is how you suffer, you know, with all these ailments that you have with, you know, these high body counts is something you take pride in now. So, you know, that's, again, part of your destruction, going against his will.
God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Sirach 25 and 24, of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all died.
Hey, that's plain, man. It says the woman became the beginning of sin, man. Hey, Eve in the garden ultimately listened to the philosophies of the serpent, man. You know, feminism, things of that nature, man. You know, and it ain't no different from today's time. Hey, listen to the philosophies of the so-called white man. You know, as the scripture said, there's no new thing under the sun, man. You know, it says through her we all die, man. That's why we're in the predicament that we're in right now, man.
Yeah,
that's right, bro.
So go be with your man Eve. Go be with Esau.
And look,
stick with him.
And how she pleads her case through the internet is nothing but through lustful desires, man. So
I can do bad all by
myself, brother. Go ahead.
You know what?
Yes,
they're gonna do bad all by themselves,
man.
Verse 25 says, "Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad."
Yeah, it says, "Give them liberty." Read that last part again, BAHASHAM.
Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad.
It says a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad, because even if you look in the ancient times, you know, a woman was ultimately kept under her father until she was ultimately married off to her husband, man.
Right.
You know, a woman cannot be left to her own devices, man, because what? Just look outside your window, man. Whores, man. You know?
Man, I had actually had a woman say that to me when I was explaining something to her. She was like, "It sounds like you're my father. Like you're trying to be my father." I was like, "Well, kind of in a way, yeah."
Man, I'm trying to guide you the right way.
Yeah.
And look at the trips, Salaki, just to say, to me being older, of course, it's just so disrespectful. You're taking trips to be lathered up in a mud bath with men in these different countries, you know, to say Jamaica, these sisters going there and just as proud. But we won't get into how they're going over there in the Arab world to, you know, do favors and the things, you know, unimaginable. Man. But again, like you said, I do bad all by myself. So if you call that good, then all right.
I mean, yeah, these are the worst generation of women to ever to be on the face of the earth, man. You know, because what did King Solomon say? You know,
her heart is snares and nets.
Not that's a good one, but it's another one. He talks about out of 1,000, he found none. Yeah, you know, so all these bitches are wicked, man. You know, you go back to the scriptures, you read, you know, talking about women, you read about, you know, Judith, Susanna, you know, ultimately women that had integrity and accountability, man. You know, a lot of these women are wicked, man. You know, hey, that's why a lot of them need to be destroyed, man. It's going to be destroyed, you know.
And it says, you know, the scripture teaches you not to be a simp as well. Because before I came in the truth, I didn't understand the nature of a woman.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But the scriptures really teaches you the true nature of a woman. That way you won't get played. It says, Sirach 25 and 26, "If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go."
Right. Ultimately, she ain't doing what the fuck you want her to do.
Exactly.
Hey, get her the fuck out of there, man. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, that's the point, man. Hey, a lot of these bitches are going to die during the time of Jacob's trouble, man. You know, hey, it's more women than men, and most of the Israelite women, you know, consist of the 2/3. You know, because there's more women than men, man. You know. But did the brother have anything else?
No.
Anything else about it?
I mean, that's pretty much it.
So with that being said, we hope this lesson was edifying. I want to end up by giving all praise and glory to
YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM,
Gosh.
Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord willing, we hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Kwam Yasharala. Shalom and the Baba Ball.
Baba Ball.
Shalom.
Yes, sir.